Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Can It Take a K26? The show where we take a variety of blasters and see if they can be upgraded using a K26 spring. I am your host, Captain Xavier, and today we're going to be looking at some vintage blasters that were sent to me by fans, which is always cool because you never know what you're going to get with these vintage blasters. Some of them can, some of them can't, some of them explode, and it's tragic. Our first contestant is the Whiptail Scorpion. The Whiptail Scorpion was originally released in 1996 as part of the Max Force line. And despite being vintage, it is in fact chambered in streamlines, or as they called them back then, micro darts, or they may maybe what they call them now. Anyway, it will fire the smaller darts. And the way it works is absolutely fascinating and ridiculous. You prime it by pulling forward on the head and claws, and then as you pull the trigger, the tail comes forward, and when it gets all the way forward, it shoots. Which is actually really neat. The most inaccurate blaster I have ever dealt with in my life, because that last trigger pull curls the tail, so you don't actually know where it's aiming until it actually releases. But this would be the sort of ridiculous thing that would be way too much fun to run in a war and just desperately try to hit anything. The tail also likes to come loose, which is a problem. That might need to be better secured, but it will fire, near as I can tell, all manner of different... Well, this one's a little bit snug. We'll see if it'll fire it. It will! So yeah, but what we want to know is, can this thing take a K26? And the first question is, okay, yep, there are screw holes. Okay, so let's get this thing open and find out. Well, that is just all kinds of fascinating. Never seen a blaster quite like that before. When you pull the trigger, it moves the entire plunger assembly forward. And the catch release is part of the plunger tube. So the plunger tube gets moved forward, and that's what actually releases the catch, which then allows this to drive back. It is direct plunger, but it's reverse direct plunger. It's a direct plunger that, yeah, anyway, you get the idea. Then the air goes through the hose and pulls forward. And that's also the plunger going forward is what causes the tail to curl as you go. That is just fascinating. But of course, we want to know if it can take a K26. So let's take a look at this plunger tube. No. No, it cannot. Tragic. Too small. I was actually expecting this one could, because it is a wide enough shell. It could have had a large enough plunger. And it might be able to take a spring upgrade. I wouldn't be surprised if it could. But that is a fairly narrow and long spring. Let's see what I've got, though. Depending on the amount of pre-compression, this one might work. There's not a whole lot of pre-compression. I don't think there's even that much. So that would result in probably an unacceptable amount of spring rattle. But no, I'm not going to get spring rattle because it's nice and tight. So, alright, so we got a heavier spring in there. Now we just need to button this thing up and give it a test. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Banana.
Inspiring. Tail is still coming loose, which is causing it to not get fully curled before it fires, which is, of course, a problem. But it releases. I need a dart. There. Will it still fire? Yes, it will! Alright, well that is a no for K26 for the Whiptail Scorpion, but yes to a spring upgrade. I was able to double the spring and got it to catch, and it still fires. The tail needs to be properly secured, either glued or screwed or something, so that it will stay in there, but it does in fact work. I think it might be fun at some point to run an all Max Force weird animal loadout, just because there's so many of them, and I've got a whole bunch of them now, and it'll be fabulous and ridiculous and silly. So, yeah. Pretty sure they're supposed to be legs, but they're missing now. No, well. Alright, we're going to bring out the next contestant after these messages. All of the K26 used on this series was donated by Out of Darts, check out his new website at outofdarts.com for all your Nerf modding needs. Our next contestant is the Manta Ray. The Manta Ray was also originally released in 1996 as part of the Max Force line, and it has some really interesting features. It fires old school Mega. Luckily, I do now have some of those that I've acquired or been sent by fans, and it's a pretty neat blaster. This one is unfortunately not complete. It's missing one of the priming rods, which is a shame because it'd be nice to see it fully in action. Now, as far as I can tell, you can load a single barrel on a single side, and it will fire. However, I believe it's actually designed to fire both barrels. Sure enough. So it'll fire both, but it seems to have about the same power. So I don't know if there's multiple plunger tubes or if there's just one or how exactly it works. We'll find out when I get it open. But because of that, the trigger fires both at the same time. So if you primed them both, it would fire all four. Or you could prime just one side and fire two, and prime just the other side and fire two. And of course, it also has a partial shield. It has been thoroughly determined that this counts as a shield in our group. But your hand is exposed, so that's not terribly useful. You can make a guard for it, I suppose. Anyway, definitely pretty neat. But I want to know if this thing can take a K26. So we're going to get this thing open and find out. Oh, that upsets me. That upsets me greatly. To get this thing apart, I'm going to have to put holes in the stickers. And the stickers are in such good condition. I don't want to do that. Maybe I don't have to. Pretty sure I gotta. We're going to use the smallest screwdriver possible. Okay, sure enough. A plunger tube for each barrel. Now that is fascinating. But only one spring. That is equally fascinating. Now, unfortunately, yeah, this side it broke off. But I seem to recall Wallcom has one that's in pretty rough shape. Between us, we might be able to make one functional one. Okay, well. First, let's check the tube. Good Lord, it'll fit. It will fit. Okay, we're using a spring that is the same size as the stock spring, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 coils. Oh. Now that's a problem. Okay. Need to crimp the end a bit. Now the question is... compression. Can I get enough compression for it to catch? And structural integrity. That's actually a concern with this one too, which is kind of sad. I hope I don't break it worse. Okay. Let's see if we can get it to catch. Nope. Not getting enough compression. So K26 is too thick and isn't getting enough compression. So we're going to try something else. I am going to see if I can add a spring. So we've got the spring on this side, but there isn't a spring on the other plunger rod, which I find to be odd. I'm going to try to add one. I'm going to add the stock spring from the other side and see if I can make that work. Well, that doesn't look good. I see what the issue is. There's no catch on that other plunger rod. So that is a bad plan. But I can't get it to release now, so it'll catch. Alright. Bad plan. Alright, let's instead take a look at what other spring could we put on the side that does have a catch. Alright, well I figured out the problem. And it's a tragic one. And that is that while trying the heavier spring load, I did in fact crack the shell, and it's now interfering with the catch mechanism on this side. Luckily, it looks like the whole plunger rod assembly is reversible. So I have simply moved it to the other side. Now, I would have preferred to have it on the top barrel, but this is something I'd probably have in my right hand anyway, since it's the shield. So, now that I think about it, I'd rather have it on the other side. So, hooray! We're going to reassemble it, and hopefully it'll work again. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Pillow.
Magnificent. Alright, well, this is an example of the spirit being willing, but the body being weak. The plunger tubes would fit a K26, but it wasn't able to compress enough to catch, and when I tried it under a heavier spring load, the shell ended up cracking, and so it wouldn't catch on this side at all anymore. I might be able to fix that, or possibly, like I said, Walcom had the remains of one of these. If his is not broken, we might be able to combine the two to make one functional one. But for now, it will work as a right-hand shield. It still catches on that side, so that works for me. Let's recap. Alright, for those of you just tuning in, or who just skipped to the end to see the results, that was a no for the Whiptail Scorpion, and that was a no for the Manta Ray. This one, the plunger tube was simply too small. This one, the plunger tube fit, but you couldn't get compression, and the shell can't support that much weight. So, unfortunately, no's to both of them. This one took a spring upgrade. This one, I tried a spring upgrade, but when I discovered that the shell was breaking, I decided to take it back down again. So, this one, I'm looking forward to running. I really want to run both of these in a war. I would get absolutely obliterated, but it would be a lot of fun. I might want to re-barrel this one for Elite just so I have more ammunition, because I don't have very many old school Mega Darts, and I'd rather they didn't get crushed on a battlefield. But I think a full Max Force loadout could be a lot of fun, especially since I have so many of them now. I almost have them all, actually, which is kind of neat. So yeah, stay tuned for that silly loadout, hopefully at a war someday. If you have any suggestions, requests, comments, concerns, ideas for future episodes, go ahead and put them in the comments section. And as always, thank you guys for watching.